Hello everybody and welcome to another photography talk, and this time apparently artificial intelligence is the new camera. Before we begin, as usual, if you want to support the channel, please put a like, subscribe, share with your friends. If you want to go a step further, check out my books. You can go on my website and you can find all my books. One of them is Photography the F Manual, and you can find a technical one on fine art inkjet printing, a novel, and other photographic books that are very interesting. And it's a good way to support this channel. A few days ago, Scott Belsky, that is and I have to read it because this kind of titles is something that you cannot memorize, is Executive Vice President of Design and Emerging Products Chief Strategy Officer at Adobe, said that artificial intelligence is the new camera. Doesn't come as a surprise that Adobe is giving a double-barrel middle finger to all the photographers, because they already made some commercials, some advertise of their artificial intelligence products, saying that you can skip the photo shoot. So that's something that they did, and there's some discussion around this. Luckily, some association was the American Association of American Society of Media Photographers. They wrote a letter to Adobe on this matter, but most associations are just silent. This moment, PPA, for example, is silent, and so on. Why are we at this point? First of all, a global problem is that we destroyed the language. If you read Orwell 1984, a good part of the book is about the new language. As something that is essential to control people is to destroy the language. We destroy the language. Photography has no meaning anymore. And photography is very clear. Photography means to write with light. And write with light is not writing with pixel, is not something that can be done by artificial intelligence, stealing photographies around and creating something that is just a copy modified enough so you cannot be sued for copyright infringement. So this is the fact. And photography, why we call it photography, what is generated by artificial intelligence. But we arrive at this point because the fault is in the photographers. When all this digital manipulation came out, when Photoshop became so trendy and so on, I have seen a lot of people faking reality, creating images that had nothing to do with reality. I left an association as PPA, for example, for this reason. I was tired to see a lot of photographs in the contest and winning the contest that were totally fake and totally made up with really too much Photoshop. I had the same problem with another association that I don't remember now. The name is Master Photographer International or something like that. We arrived at the contest and they gave a prize for travel photography to a photograph. I still remember was Budapest, probably. I wrote an article somewhere, and it's on my website. I will put the link up there. But they arrived at the point that they gave a prize to this photograph where the city at night had beautiful, over it, beautiful Milky Way sky. That was not possible in that position, was not possible for sure to photograph with all the light pollution of the city. But they gave a prize for obviously travel photography. That is something that I can get it if you give a prize for an artistic thing, but not for travel photography. And we photographer became lazy. When Photoshop came out, we started to use it to create fake pictures. We look around right now and we see that 99% of the pictures on social media and so on, and they get a lot of likes. So that's something that drove the photographers in that direction. But a lot of photographs that are totally fake, totally oversaturated with the color, overcorrected, over-manipulated. So right now, what is the difference between a real photograph made by a photographer and a photograph made by artificial intelligence, or not a photograph, but an image created by artificial intelligence? Not that much. But this was the fault of the photographers. Photographers adapted to this. To have likes on Facebook and all this kind of thing on social media, on Instagram, photographers started to create fake images. And fake images are exactly what are bringing us in this situation. I was already going against this trend years ago, because it was pretty obvious that the end of the game was this. And why we are doing it? Photography is great because it's writing with the light. Photography, by the way, needs a tool to create, to write with the light. So it needs a tool that captures the light that is around and convert it in an image. And the tool is a camera, so a computer with an artificial intelligence copy images around and create something new, or better, create something that's just a mix of something absolutely not new, is not photography, is not a camera. So when Scott Belsky say that artificial intelligence is the new camera, that's bullshit, sorry. They are going in this direction. Adobe is going in this direction, again giving the double barrel middle finger to everybody that is every photographer that supported them for years and years. So their base client, basically they are telling the base client, go to have yourself, and they are doing it because they don't care, and they are trying to create something that is different. They trying to eliminate the idea of reality in images. And this is something that is a kind of a political thing. A lot of these companies are getting a ton of money from the government. All this is a coordinated effort to destroy the same concept of reality. And by the way, we have seen this working perfectly during the COVID pandemic. We have seen something that was a narrative with nothing concrete and real. Right now we have the data and we can see it, but we saw how a narrative that had nothing to do with reality was pushed around, and people believed it. With images, it's even easier. With images, you can create a lot of things. You can create a lot of emotional narrative. So right now there's this effort to disconnect people from reality. And to disconnect people from reality, destroying photography in its real meaning is exactly the absence. But again, the fault is in the hands of the photographers. For years, photographers used these kind of digital tools to create fake images. And for years, also before the digital, images were created to follow and to push a narrative. And we shut it up. We didn't talk about that. And I think about something as I mentioned that again and again because it's the easiest one, is the easiest example. But we had the big scandal of McCarry creating the images just to push a narrative. We have the famous Afghan girl that really was totally, the narrative behind the image was totally the contrary to what happened at the time. But we accepted it. We didn't rebel to this. We as a photographer, we as photographer association, we didn't go against this lack of ethic and moral choice. And what can divide photography from an image created by artificial intelligence is exactly what is the human soul. And the human soul is something that must be reduced at a certain point to ethic and moral. And the ethic behind a photographer is essential. If, for example, we talk about photojournalism, the most important part is the ethic. It was always possible to push a narrative changing the point of view or these kind of things. But the ethic of the photographer was the essence. We forgot about the ethic, and we allowed all this. By the way, people is complaining around about this Adobe declaration against photographer, but I'm asking you, why do you still use Adobe products? I quit to use Adobe Pro, or better, I quit to upgrade to Adobe products after CS6. CS6 was the moment that Adobe decided to go on the rental process of the software, so the monthly payment and these kind of things. At that point, I decided to not update anymore, and I went with other tools. For example, there's Affinity, is fantastic. There's Capture One to convert RAWs that is absolutely much better than Lightroom in my opinion, and doesn't have a monthly fee. So why we continue to do this? It's very simple. We are in a capitalistic society. We can be heard, but to be heard we have to stop to pay these companies. It's very, very easy. The problem is, again, photographers are lazy. If we were not lazy, we would probably paint. So we are lazy, we choose photography, and our laziness is what brings us to stick with some products. And because to try new software, there's a learning curve, and so on. So this is another problem. But do something. Simply quit to pay Adobe. It's not that important to talk. Yes, it's important to talk and be heard in this direction, but nothing will change unless we stop to pay Adobe. We have to make them feel the pain in the wallet. Probably it's something that at this point is not even possible. I mean, I'm pretty sure that they don't care economically about photographers. What they care about is just probably phone, iPhone things. They pushed a lot in that direction, and right now, exactly with artificial intelligence, this kind of things, they probably earn money from other sources. So photographers probably are not even capable to make them feel pain economically. But still, why do you continue to pay people that is basically telling to you to go to F yourself? We are in an era where we have to learn to fight back. We have to learn to go back to what is ethic and moral code. And we need it. We need it in everything. And we need to mostly go back to the concept of reality. We live in a time where it is a moral duty for us to go back to the objectivism, to go back to the idea that the reality exists, and the reality is not something that is always relative and cannot be changed just because some nerd that created the software and are putting in it all their psychological problems from the teenager years are creating something that negate the reality. I'm tired of people talking about relativism and all these kind of things, and we see the world that is screwed up by this habit to fake reality, to create just narrative, to avoid reality. And this is something that it's wrong. And as a photographers, we can do something. We can go back to objectivity. And by the way, I see a lot of people is, yeah, but without the Adobe products, I cannot go on. I already say there are alternatives. But most of all, why we need post-processing in images? That much post-processing. Why don't we go back to what was film photography? And we can do it with film, but we can do it also with digital. Just take the photo. I mean, use JPEG eventually if you don't want to have the process to convert the RAW, but also taking RAW, just convert the RAW. But do you really need to change the sky in the images? Do you really need to edit off all the trash can that you find in a city. I mean, I have seen people taking pictures in Florence and beautiful pictures of a beautiful city all clean up. I arrived in Florence a few days later. This was some years ago. And I arrived and was full of garbage. It was full of signs, ugly signs. It was full of graffiti. I mean, graffiti in Florence is something that is absolutely against all the decency. But they were photoshopped out. And this is just stupid. We have to photograph the reality, and eventually we have to fight to make the reality better. You go in a city like Florence, you see the garbage on the roads, because on the streets, because they decided to do this differentiated collection of the garbage door by door, so the people leave the garbage out for all the night in front of this beautiful building. You like that? Photograph that and show that. If you don't like that, photograph it and show it, and ask to the mayor and ask to the responsible of this to change the way, because it's something that is destroying our life. Why, as a photographer, instead of using photography to take the pictures and show what is wrong and what can be changed in the world to live in the world better every day, we create a fake reality and continue to live in a shitty world. And this is something that is totally wrong. And it's something that is not just wrong, it's something that allows Adobe to arrive and tell that artificial intelligence is the new camera. Dear photographers, you wanted it. You have to change your attitude, you have to change the way you take pictures, you have to change your ethic code, and at this point you can go against artificial intelligence and stealing your work and these kind of things. But if you don't do that, why complain? Adobe on that point is right. They are making money, they are a company. By the way, notice that the people that always look for the bottom line and the last penny are the people that pretend to have this superior morality against capitalism and all these kind of things. This is really fun. Usually, if they talk bad about money, they are just concentrated to make the last penny. So this is another point that is pretty fun to see. But, dear photographer, this is basically your fault. Are you ready to start to do something real? To go against people that is telling you you are worth nothing? A machine can be better than you? Do something. If you want to do something, change your mentality and go there. The other problem that we have is that right now a lot of people, a lot of new generation were so brainwashed to think that the human is the worst thing that can happen to the planet, that they really believe that an artificial intelligence can be better than them. And that's something that is atrocious, but it's something that I see a lot of photographers, especially young photographers, that jumps on these technology things very quickly, because they feel that the technology is superior to their mind, that an artificial intelligence can be superior to them. You see a lot of people thinking, oh, that's good, if you have artificial intelligence driving cars or airplane and so on, the world will be better. That's BS. The human mind is always better, because the human mind doesn't just limit to copy what is around, all the information, copying them and put them together. The human mind is capable to have intuition, to have something that is much more. A lot of things we have seen in the human history are something that came out from intuition, from an idea that was a genius idea. If we limit ourselves to get all the knowledge that is around, collect it and put it together, we will never do something new. We need the intuition, we need the human brain. By the way, there's another point, that is artificial intelligence right now has nothing to do with intelligence. It's just an expert system that collects a ton of data and gives you put together the data in a way that is decided by the programmer, so with the bias of the programmer. We have seen the artificial intelligence create a picture of a pope in history, and no one was a white man. So we have seen all these kind of things. So we have seen all the bias that is inserted in this game, but also is something that will put together information but will not be able to get out because it's not intelligence, it's just an expert system. So quit to call it artificial intelligence. Think about I don't know, an artificial archive, but it's not artificial intelligence. By the way, this was just my few cents about the matter. I was not surprised at all at this direction that Adobe took. I knew people in Adobe, I knew one of the founders of Adobe, and the matter is that I like to deal with people that is open-minded, and I remember when I expressed myself against the monthly payment, this guy simply canceled me from his Facebook connection, all these kind of things. Also, if we spend time together around Italy and other places in Europe. So this was very cheap. And when you see that you have to deal with little people that is not capable probably to deal with reality, the still are probably they are dealing with the trauma that they had as a nerd in an high school. That's something that it doesn't surprise me if their final goal is to eliminate humanity because they think humanity is inferior to the machine that they can create, feeling like little goats, and they can create it to manage the world. So I'm not surprised of this, but I think this is very bad. I think it's very bad for photographer, and I think it's very bad if photographer don't fight back and don't fight back in the right way. Again, stop using their products and start to change your attitude toward photography. Thank you very much for watching. Again, if you enjoyed the video, put a like, subscribe, share with your friends. If you want to go a step further, check out my books, the link is there, and see you next time.